You're listening to Sarah Hagan Backstage, with interviews and insights from years inside the music industry. Join Sarah as she talks with masters of their crafts, finding out what makes them tick, both inside and outside of the music business.
Welcome to Sarah Hagan Backstage. My guest today, Larnell Lewis, is the drummer in the band Snarky Puppy, as well as a professor of music at Humber College and a Drumeo Coach. I'm going to talk to Larnell today about all of these things, the new music that he has out, his apparel line, and his viral Drumeo video. So come along with me as I catch up with Larnell Lewis. Larnell Lewis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And
of course.
How are you? How have you been? Tell us what this past year and a half has been like for you.
The last year and a half, oh my gosh. Up and down, it's been full. I feel like I haven't stopped. I feel like I've just been going steady. But there have been so many beautiful moments, and so I would say I'm thankful to be where I am because right now, it's just enough of a pace for me to do things like actually pay attention to my lawn. Like I'm really happy that I can get into that stuff and get a chance to even repair things, and I'm good. I'm good. It's like I said, it's been crazy, full of lots of events, online stuff, tons of course. Very little in person, did some recently, but I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And I think that's something I'm hearing a lot when I ask that question is, musicians are by trade always going, always moving, always on to the next thing, a lot of travel, a lot of time away from the house. And it's been really interesting to hear all the different things that have been happening in the lives of musicians now that, you all have been home a little bit, like repairing things or when I was talking to Ronnie Vannucci, he was saying he noticed flowers in his yard that he had never seen before because he was never home at that time of year.
Yes.
Right. Or cooking or discovering new talents for things. So it's been a good way for people to spend a little bit more time, I think at home doing something different. But it does seem like, the live shows have been coming back, and I've seen some of the things that you've been doing, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, so exciting that I'm glad that seeing the light at the end of the tunnel might be a little soon to say with the way things feel, but I know here out in Canada, in Toronto, people are making plans, and we're just kind of crossing our fingers and just hoping that we can reconnect for a moment, even if it means that we'll have to disconnect for a second after.
Right. I feel like it's a good time of year with the weather being nice and getting outside and getting some time in with family and with friends. And even if things maybe get a little tighter again, at least we've had this time together. It's been a nice reprieve from the isolation, I think. So yeah, but I'm glad it's been a good time for you. And I think the other thing I'm hearing a lot is it's been a time of reflection and maybe thinking about the things that you do want to spend your time on in the future and making some changes to time management. I know I've done a lot of that in my life over the past year and a half, and that seems to be a recurring theme.
Absolutely. For me, having the opportunity to stop and think about, what I want to start, what I want to stop, and what I'd like to continue is a theme for sure. Like more jam time with my kids would be something I would love to continue,
Yes.
especially now that they're able to hold instruments, which is a lot of fun. I know there's a video we were talking about a little bit earlier of my wife and my son singing "If You're Happy and You Know It."
Yes.
And, there's a quick story actually with that ukulele that my wife was playing. I believe it was a yellow one. Shout outs to my D'Addario family. They hooked us up with some ukuleles, the plastic, I think Bear Creek ukuleles. And the first time I saw my son smile, it was May 2018. And, he had a long journey. At that time, he was about 6 months of his 8 month stay in hospital.
Mhm.
And I had taken that ukulele and I put it on him and I strummed it a few times. I have a video of it, strummed it. And that's when he started to smile.
Oh my goodness.
And so I actually have been using that ukulele. At the time, I was using it to measure him as well, just to see, how big he was getting. I wasn't
Yes.
doing like, measuring tape or anything. I was like, okay, he's almost the size of a ukulele. I think we're good to go. And now he's playing it, he's holding it, he's sitting there,
Oh.
and just, things talking about continuing, it's along with jamming is just understanding the example that I am for my kids, just being at home. And so, he's 3.5, he'll be 4 in December.
Mhm.
And, he has a condition called Down syndrome, but I've never given him formal lessons on how to hold and play. I just play around him and he
Mhm.
is picking it up and absorbing it. And so just understanding that, just to keep that in mind, it's like, right, I'm going to continue to be in that frame of mind. But yeah, it's such a
That's
beautiful.
so fantastic. I love that story, and I love the jam videos. If anyone has not seen them, your Instagram, you feature some videos sometimes, and they're just so incredibly sweet. And it showcases your talent and your wife's talent, but also this beautiful like family atmosphere with the kids. It's just so, so incredibly sweet.
Thank you.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And speaking of online, I just have to tell you the funniest thing. Usually, when I kind of get ready for these podcasts, I will Google your name just to see what comes up and if anything that, I haven't been paying attention to or haven't been up to date on. No matter how well we know each other, I always just Google. So I Googled your name, and what popped up was the funniest thing. It said, "How good is Larnell Lewis?" That's what pops up when you Google your name. And I was just like, this is so great. Like, and the answer, how sometimes it has a question and then it has an answer. So it said, "How good is Larnell Lewis?" And the answer was, "Larnell Lewis is an incredible and versatile drummer. He is also mind-bogglingly comfortable combining traditional and modern techniques to create new sounds and concepts." So
Wow.
there you go. You have this fantastic tagline when someone Googles your name. So
Oh my gosh. Okay. I like it. I'm happy about that.
there you go. I didn't know if you knew that was the question that pops up. But I can answer that question too. Larnell Lewis is incredibly great. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
absolutely. And we met so far back. I feel like it was maybe we met at the Montreal Drum Festival. And then I think maybe the next time I saw you, you were actually playing the Montreal Drum Festival. So maybe you were there attending and then maybe you were like playing, I think maybe like the very next year or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that festival, had I've met so many people there, and it's always a great experience. I feel like I've seen something of them connecting with Drumeo, trying to get something happening in 2022.
Oh,
But
that would be so good.
yeah, but yeah, I think it may have been like it was definitely before I got married. And it was maybe like 2008 or something like that. It was a
Yeah,
while ago.
definitely quite a while ago. And I remember being so excited that, we just met as like attendees and I was there supporting some of the artists that were there. And it was great to get to know you and meet you. And then to come back the next year and you were like playing and just blowing everyone away, which was amazing. It was so great to see. And then like really quickly after that, it was, you were in Snarky Puppy and you were doing all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, seeing how your career developed was so fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, it kind of snowballed at a certain point, which was a lot of fun to see things opening up. As you mentioned, Snarky Puppy hit. Drumeo, connecting with Drumeo was awesome. And I think I just started to find this, I mean, I like to consider myself an introvert, you
Mhm.
know, even though I have a certain personality on the drums. And one thing that was really big about the change in my career was being comfortable with my voice, being comfortable with speaking, being
Mm.
comfortable with just discussing things that were on my mind. And I'm more of an observer, generally speaking, but I feel like as soon as I gave more power to that side of me, opportunities started to show up, and
Mhm.
there was a lot more performing opportunities, teaching opportunities. Yeah, and just connecting, and people seemed like they really wanted to hear what I had to say, not only from behind the kit, but also in front of the kit and behind a microphone. And so, yeah, like I'm remembering that time, I was still working a bunch of stuff out, and the confidence was growing, but opportunities were showing up, and it was beautiful for me.
I love that. And sometimes it is, like you said, you're more of an observer, but I think sometimes the people who are those observers have so much inside from spending a lot of time listening, with your ears open, and then when you get the chance to comment on something, or to speak about something, you have so much built up um, education on the topic and observances. And so I'm happy that you're using your voice too. But I know it's not an easy thing, I think, especially for drummers, because you're used to being in the back, right? And with this large instrument in front of you. So it's not maybe as comfortable.
Oh yeah, I mean, I make the joke. I am a professor at Humber College, and when I've been teaching there since 2009, but the last couple years I've been there full time. And so I always made the joke about, when I had to do a seminar or teach a particular class, I was like, you know what? And it didn't involve drum kit. Like, let's say I was a guest speaker or partially teaching the marketing class, for example, or
Mhm.
music business. And I was like, well, when I first taught, I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna have a snare drum sitting right beside me, just so there's some level of comfort to me, something familiar. But
Yes.
working my way towards like the TED Talk vibe, and
Yes.
see where that goes.
That's amazing. And how is teaching been through this? Have you been remote teaching?
Yeah, remote teaching. So going backwards, this past semester was all virtual for me specifically.
Mhm.
Semester before that was one class was in person, which is called creative development, and we work on building a show. Capstone
Mhm.
project in that particular course is to be able to do a 50-minute performance with originals and arrangements, and learning how to run rehearsals, and you know work on your tech sheets and all that other stuff, very important in getting a show together from start to finish. And also confidence, right? Performing, getting out there, being someone, like I said, it's an introvert, and
Mhm.
understanding that perspective and sharing the lessons I've learned to help me get there. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we had a week off a week off to figure out all of our tech, and then just run right into it to end the semester, and that was all virtual. So yeah,
Wow.
one class in person pretty much.
Mhm. Yeah, that it does sound challenging, but I'm glad that you're able to keep going like that, and the technology that we have nowadays lets us do that, which is so fantastic.
Yeah,
Um, and are
yeah.
you going back in person, or will it be virtual again in the fall?
It'll be a mix.
Mhm.
The reality is, like with everything changing, we're
Mhm.
ready to go virtual. This is my space where I do my virtual teaching, but I also, at my office, I have like electronic drum setup and whatever I need to do ready to go. But yeah, the idea is that we will do some in person and some virtual, and we kind of have to wait to see what it looks like for us here in Ontario. But
Absolutely. That's understandable. Um, and I have to ask you, you just mentioned Drumeo. And so you are a Drumeo coach, right? Which is this really great program that they have. And it's do you do weekly lessons with them? Is that what it is? Yeah.
yeah, weekly sessions on Tuesdays at
Mhm.
3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yesterday's topic, it's every Tuesday, and it was just a Q&A. And I'll do things like how to learn a song or learning a song with Larnell or active listening, or, we'll do some drills and fills where, I will go through a couple drum fills or patterns and I'll just repeat them over again so you can practice along with me. And we'll talk about foot technique every other month. And I go through as many questions as I can in the session and also after the fact, and just answer them with as much information, it's great. Drumeo has been an awesome family to be connected to for the last 9 years for me.
Wow, my
Yeah.
goodness. I remember you were there early on. You were connected with them early on, which I always thought was great. And it's so cool to see how far everything has come. And I have to mention the Drumeo looping video that you did not too long ago. But it's so incredible. If anyone hasn't seen that, you have to check out, and I'll put a link in the description, but this really great looping video that you had, which really shows you using technology and using your skill and putting it all together. It was just very cool.
Thank you. That's something I've been wanting to do for so long. And some technology has caught up and made it easier to do. And I just look forward to doing more of that in the future. It's something I'm trying to integrate into more of my performances for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other Drumeo video that I cannot neglect to mention, because it's like literally one of my favorite things, is of course the Metallica Enter Sandman video. We have to talk about this. So unbelievable and entertaining, and the level of skill that you display in that video is just mind-blowing to me. So for anyone who hasn't seen that, it's a Drumeo video again, but Larnell is listening to Metallica's Enter Sandman for the first time ever and then playing it, right?
Mhm.
And and playing it so great, like and enhancing, like it was just so good. He watching you listen to that song for the first time and your reactions to it and the comments that you're making was like just pure entertainment.
Nice.
Absolutely. And then to hear you like working out the parts, remembering everything, and then like going and playing it and just nailing it. It's incredible. And I love like your comments when it goes into halftime, the halftime feel, and you were like, "Wait a minute, I didn't expect that." And
Oh man, I like it. There were a few things that just completely threw me because I'm not familiar with the writing style, or some bands they have things that are unique to them for the devices that they use to get through a song.
right.
And so yeah, that was one that completely caught me off guard. Absolutely.
It's so good. Have Since that video, have you explored any more Metallica at all?
That's a great question. I haven't explored too much. Some of my students at Humber, their first question was like, "Okay." I just hit That was perfect timing for that
That was so
effect.
good.
Hold on, let me my everything is going bananas right now. I have a certain setup and it's just like, yeah, we're gonna go off on you now. So their first question is, how did you not know that song? And then the second one is just like, what do you think of Lars? Right? And I'm like, man, he's going for it, he's killing it. Like I think to be a part of a band, number one, especially as a member of Snarky Puppy, it's
Mhm.
a special thing. You have the trust of each other. You have, this road, this journey, you're dedicating time and energy to this project, right? It's a
Mhm.
project, this ongoing group project, and you got to believe in each other, and you got to make these, deadlines, meet these deadlines, and you got to come out with a product. And so what I learned was that, people that are fans are there for the journey, and they're seeing the arc, of the band. And doesn't matter what age you are, like if you are a fan of Metallica, there's some kind of a culture in there which also allows you to get into really deep conversations about the members of the band or just like music in general. And
Mhm.
you're there to compare, contrast, and it's a lot more than just like water cooler talk, And
Sure.
so yeah, it was really heavy to to experience the culture, and to have people, I mean, some people were coming at me, but
Oh,
also some people
no.
were just like, hey, check this out and check that out. And so I had listened through a couple of things with some students because they wanted me to hear, the difference between that album and this album, and here's
Mhm.
something else of this, and check out their writing here. And I've received thousands of song requests
I
to
bet you
check out.
did. That
Oh
that
yeah.
is so that's so cool. And the video went viral. I checked it yesterday just to see, and it was like 6.79 million views or something like that,
That's
which is
crazy.
just it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, I think that song in particular might have been like the most played Metallica song for a good chunk of the early 90s, maybe, along with, a few others from that particular album. But it's interesting though that your students were like, "Check this, listen to this," because I think of Metallica as, kind of a very, like, symphonic style of metal
Mhm.
playing. Like, there's always the movements in the song, and I just loved watching you hear it for the first time, and even though that song in particular is more of a mainstream song, some of their older music has, even more kind of, like, symphonic movements, but then you get to the guitar solo and you're like, "Okay, yep, that's that." Like, really great. So that is it was just really, really great to watch you listen to it. And then the way that you broke it down and then nailed it, you know, kudos to you. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, the situation there, I was there doing a few videos. Usually when I'm at Drumeo HQ, they'll give me an opportunity to, you know, not only we'll work out what lessons I'm gonna do, we'll probably do one or two live lessons in real time,
Mhm.
some general information or general, short videos, longer videos, courses, methods, and then we'll just get into a few fun videos. And so I know at that time I had done a reaction to other drummers playing Snarky Puppy music, which was pretty crazy.
Mhm.
I had done some drum solo stuff. And so like I'm there for about 4 days, 4 full days just doing videos nonstop, just going boom. And uh, we'll stop and they're like, hey, so we got one of those songs. You ever heard of Enter Sandman? I was like, no. Like, you want to try learning it? Like we could do it on the spot. I'm like, okay, like, okay, just do it. You've never heard of it. No, you listen to any Metallica? No, okay. Do us a favor. What's that? Don't listen to it. Like when you go back to the hotel room, don't listen, don't look for the song, nothing. I was like, okay, I will avoid the internet. Sure,
Mhm.
I'll do my
Yes.
best. And we're literally like we go through the day and then they're like, okay, it's time for the song. So I'm already in a different headspace, going through a ton of lessons, and now I'm absorbing this information. And one thing that I think doesn't get, I mean, I haven't mentioned much at all really, is when I'm listening to a piece of music and I'm trying to focus and understand, the music, and this is something I've been doing for a long time. Like I remember my first gig, I was 7 years old, and
Wow.
the drummer, I was subbing in. The drummer at my dad's band couldn't make it, but my dad used to bring us to rehearsals because my mom was in college, and so we're listening. I'm playing with my brother, and then the songs are playing. Whatever, drummer can't make it. They're saying, "Who are we gonna call?" My dad's like, "Yeah, we can get my son to play drums," and they're like, "Him, 7?" And so my dad's like, "Yeah, Larnell, do you know the songs? Do you want to play?" And so I got on drums. It was a TV performance, actually, a gospel concert.
Wow.
And yeah, I did. I remember the hall very clearly. It was at least like capacity about, now that I think about it, arrangement wise, it was like
Mhm.
maybe 250 or 300 people, you know, broadcast on TV. And like I did the gig and it was all good. And I've been subbing in that format, learning songs very quickly. So it's something
Mhm.
I've done for a while. When I'm learning songs, I'm not usually talking about what I'm hearing. I'm usually just
Mhm.
hearing it and all my thoughts are happening. And so to say an event that's happening in the music, but then to still pay attention to what's also happening in real time is a challenge. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Now that you're saying that, it looked effortless for you. I have to tell you that. So you really presented it as being effortless, but thinking about it, I can't even imagine because you're trying to internalize it. You're trying to remember and structure it in your head, but you're also having to speak to the camera and explain what you're hearing. So that had to be really tough. So yeah, you just added a whole element of you bumped it up a notch for me right there.
It was a good experience overall, and I'm glad I did it. It was a couple times that I had done it, and so yeah, it's something I'm more comfortable with now for sure.
That's fantastic. And one thing that did come out of that too, I don't know if it was that video or another, was your catchphrase, the more volume, please,
Oh
right?
yes, yes, I'll take more volume,
I'll
please.
take more volume, please. And I just have to mention that you have a line of shirts and baby onesies, which I think that's great because a lot of people just skip over the babies and the kids, and you have all shirts for all sizes. But the design of that shirt is so fantastic, and I will link to that as well because it's just super cool. It's great, and everyone will just have to check it out because it's the phrase is great and it reminds me of the video, and then the design of it is fantastic.
Yeah, shout out to Jesse Ryan of Fway Culture. He's the one that designed that. And I added a couple of little things, but like he came up with it. Like we were talking, I guess my wife and I and her sister were talking about the video and how it was just getting all this action. And she was like, "You should make shirts." I was like, "I should make shirts." He's like, "You should make shirts." I was like, "Joy, we should make shirts." He's like, "Make shirts?" I was like, "Let's make shirts." And so we messaged him, and just said, "Okay, hit us with a design." And within 5 hours, he just sent us something. And I was like, "Change this, change that." We're like, "Cool." We posted it, and orders came in from like halfway across the world, and then it's just been bubbling ever since.
It's so good. I am really kind of like particular about what I wear. And I'm mainly people can tell I'm mainly in black shirts, black t-shirts. That's like the 99% of what I wear. But I saw that and I was like, I have to get one.
Oh
So I'll
yes.
be on there ordering one for sure. But I'll link it so that everyone else can check it out because the design is
Awesome.
it's perfect. So
Yeah.
good. Um, and another thing too, and I know I've spent a lot of time on this video, but the ending of it where you talk about kind of breaking down the stereotypes of genres and who can play what style of music. I love that message so much. And I'm wondering if you can kind of reiterate that here, if we can talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Um, being somebody who has, living in Toronto, I have the honor and pleasure of being a part of a music scene that has so many cultures contributing to this thing called the Toronto music scene. And so when you are somebody who has the ability to not only read music, but you can learn music very quickly, you can play at a high that you have the opportunities there for you to sub into these situations. And being able to sub in and play and have people accept me, regardless of the culture that I'm coming from. My background is Kittian, St. Kitts. My family's from the
Mhm.
Caribbean. And but being of Afro-Caribbean descent, a lot of people are still accepting me in a lot of these situations. And the point of the message was just to remind everybody, first of all, respect the different cultures. Every culture has its way of expressing themselves through sound, which is what we call music, right? And
Mhm.
whether it's for celebrations and ceremonies of all kinds, whatever it is, there's a song to to um to be able to connect with. There's a song, traditionally speaking, or a sound or a set of rhythms that's connected to whatever it is that they are doing that is a part of their culture. And so
Mhm.
first and foremost, respecting that and understanding where that fits, right? We don't want to go in and just grab a rhythm and use it somewhere else without understanding that there's a message behind it. Like, these drum rhythms are used in war. These drum rhythms are used in celebration. These drum rhythms are used, like, for example, second line music,
Mm-hmm.
right? It has so much joy to it, and it brings such life to it. But when you understand within the culture of New Orleans where that comes from and why it's there and what it represents, which is the second line of people after the first line of people who have just finished laying a family member to rest.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of that final cadence and celebration where the whole city rallies around you, and they just leave their house and they just celebrate with you this person's life because they know that you need to be lifted up. And so when you even hear that story and you get behind the music and you start playing that particular feel, you now start to connect with what that means to you, what
Mm.
celebration means to you. And now you are putting your spirit and your soul in line with that sound. And that to me activates what should be happening in music, which makes it so much more realistic. But when it comes to playing the music, there's still, in my opinion, there's still room for people as long as you understand and you're respecting the cultures.
Mm-hmm.
There's still room to learn, to grow, to understand, but don't be shallow about it. Be, as deep as you can, and know that there can be barriers, but the idea is that if you are there to respect the culture and you're there to respect the music and the people of the culture, right? Not wanting to separate the people,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that you just move in love and respect. That's kind of the gist of it. It's like you can learn, you don't have to be from, Jamaica to learn about or to play reggae, right? You don't have to be from Cuba to learn or play Afro-Cuban music. You can, there will be those that are those that came from the line of individuals, right? That
Mm-hmm.
created that music. But to my knowledge and what I've experienced, the people are open to sharing their culture. They're open to sharing it and making it available to you and teaching you about it. I believe there are some parts of some cultures where it is a closed door because either for religious reasons
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we've got to a point now where so much music is available, so many people are online teaching the music
Mm-hmm.
of their ancestors, and you can check it out, you can learn it, you can listen to it. I think the piece that I definitely want to add after experiencing a bit more life since that video
Mm-hmm.
is just to remember that at the end of the day, to also not remove the voices of that genre or remove the voices of that culture from
Mm-hmm.
the music. I think so many times it can be easy to love a genre so much and then become the official voice, for whatever reason or for whatever opportunities come your way. But again, attached to that music is a culture, is a group of
Mm-hmm.
people. And to separate them is doing a disservice to those that were stewards of that music, and to just continue to not only keep them in mind but keep them in view so that everyone understands where it came from, what meaning there is to these things, and how it all came to be. So,
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And I think, another part of that message too is the connection that people feel through music and how music can be a bridge between cultures,
yeah.
music being a main form of communication in so many aspects. And you could feel connected through a musical style or genre in maybe a way that you wouldn't otherwise. So I just think that's like the most or one of the most amazing properties of music is that the way to connect, and you can be in an audience listening to music with people of all ages or ethnicities, and you're connected, you're together, you are one group because of this music that's joining you together. So I love that. But yes, I totally agree with you. Exploring the genres and respecting the history that goes along with those those particular styles of music and the culture. It's so important. Um, and, just to kind of go back to something else that you said that struck me, I didn't know that you played your first gig when you were 7 years old. That's incredible. And I'm just wondering if that, if your culture kind of came into the style that you were playing back then. Were you playing mainly jazz music? Were you playing, tell me about what you were playing back then.
Absolutely. So here in Toronto, in the gospel community, there is a high percentage of like, it's not exactly the same as the African American, like, gospel community necessarily. We have a lot more Caribbean people who are making music, and for me, again, being of Kittian descent, I think
Mhm.
other people in the band may have been from Jamaica, possibly St. Vincent, and so we'll take hymns that you might hear a particular way, and there might be like a one drop on it, or we might
Mhm.
play like some calypso behind that, or it might be
Mhm.
ska. And that was my church experience. That's how I grew up. It wasn't until like the early 90s did I start getting into Kirk Franklin and Fred Hammond, as far as an approach to gospel music. And really, even before that, alongside my Caribbean upbringing, was also Andre Crouch. That was a big, big thing. I think for me, it was Andre Crouch, Mighty Clouds of Joy. A little bit later was Ron Canoli, Alvin Slaughter, Shirley Caesar, of course, Yolanda Adams. Like, it's a variety, but the music, how we expressed ourselves in gospel music,
Mhm.
was through the rhythms of the Caribbean.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so at the time, like, my dad might just say, James Brown funk, and I'm like, okay, I got to do this thing, right? Or it's like, okay, reggae, okay, calypso, and so and he taught me how to take my cues from other instruments to be able to build my drum pattern, right? So it's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
the bass is doing this. This is going to tell you this, and if I'm playing the keyboard like this was a big lesson, because he was a musical director at my church when I was growing up.
Mhm.
So he said, when I'm playing the keyboard like this and you hear this is the drum pattern you're playing. So from an early age, he taught me pattern recognition. He taught me, understanding a response to a certain role, or a certain um, phrasing, or a certain, whatever it is happening on another instrument, and then to know,
Mhm.
okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why it makes sense, and this is how I can alter it.
That's incredible. I love that. I mean, I feel like he gave you a really great gift in that as a young player to understand that relationship between the musicians and who is playing and why, and what the response would be. That's fantastic. And probably set you up for bands like Snarky Puppy, where you're playing with like the most incredible musicians on all instruments, and kind of playing off of each other so often.
Absolutely. Snarky is, I'm looking at one of my I have like 3 tour badges here, that are very special to me. I'll pull them in view. There was it's Quincy Jones
Oh, nice.
tour badge that I have,
Mhm.
Snarky Puppy 2017. This is a fun tour. This year, this particular tour was the tour I was on when I found out that we were pregnant and that we were gonna
Oh
have
my
a baby.
goodness.
So
Good
that
memories
really
there.
special. And this, Edmonton Jazz Fest was actually the Larnell Lewis band. And
Oh,
so,
exciting.
yeah, so these are my kind of inspiration things. And when I'm practicing and I look over, I can see that. But with Snarky Puppy, you know, um, that band for me is like, it's probably one of the greatest summer camps I've ever been a part of. Like, like music camps where I can show up, and usually I bring a ton of work with me, like a ton of like ideas, or things I got to get done, because everyone is getting stuff done. And
Mhm.
the background of all the musicians in that band, at any point, if you have a question, it will be answered.
Mhm.
So, just the experience of all the musicians playing in different situations or their upbringings and how they bring that into the band, the confidence that everyone has in each other, um, the the trust, it's an amazing experience to be a part of a band, a collective where doesn't matter who's on stage, you know,
Right.
everyone's playing at a high level. But yeah, like the training I got definitely helped me to connect with the band in a special way. And again, everyone contributing to what we're doing, especially we have a recording coming up that we're going to be doing in October, which is going
Oh,
to be great.
great.
Yeah, and so get to do this thing again, which is going to be a lot of fun.
That's so exciting. And speaking of recordings, and you just mentioned that pass from the Jazz Fest with Larnell Lewis Band. Let's talk about your music because you have some really great music out, and one that you came out with an album recently at the end of 2020.
Relive the moment.
Yep.
And yeah, for me it was a chance to visit some of those songs again from that first record and to put a new spin on it after I had been touring with my band, to get new video footage, which was very important in this new virtual, what's the word I'm looking for? Just virtual world, where we
Yeah.
are online constantly, so I wanted to have um, something to contribute and something to showcase, where I am.
Hmm.
And yeah, like it's writing music is like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but actually I do know. I'll say this much. In high school, I went to an arts high school for music. And what I used to do is instead of writing a journal, I would come home and I would write a song. And I'd write a song about my day. And there was no lyrics, just instrumental. So if something happened, I'd write about it. Um, but what was cool about it was that the keyboard I had, which I think was a Yamaha W5, I couldn't save any of the songs. So I can record all the tracks, do keyboard drums, keyboard bass, put
Hmm.
piano, all that stuff. But then I'd have to connect it to a tape recorder
Hmm.
and record that and then turn off the keyboard, and that was it. So in one sitting, I'd have to compose the song, play all the parts, and then say bye-bye and only have this cassette tape of demos that I was adding to. And so that habit of recording songs and writing songs based on my day, based on moments, is where that actually started for me. And so this theme of being in the moment, or for the second record, reliving the moment, is just about looking at situations in life and attaching music to them that represents what it was to me because it was a
Hmm.
beautiful moment, or it was an important moment, or a pivotal moment, or just a fun moment. Sometimes it doesn't have to be anything other than like I like coconuts, so I'm gonna write
Right.
about it, right? And so that's what songwriting's been for me, and it's been a great tool great device to center me. Like if everything is chaotic, like I can just turn the lights low, hop on a piano or whatever instrument it is, and just play, my feelings out. I mean, one thing I did with my brother's also an amazing drummer. I don't know if I mentioned that to you before, but he's
Hmm.
he's actually the drummer for The Weekend, which is
Yes.
amazing. And
Yes.
so he plays a couple of the instruments as well. And so I remember very, very vividly that if we had challenges in our day, one of us, we would just sit down on the edge of the bed and just like I might play bass, he'll play guitar, or I'll play keys and he'll play bass or whatever, and we'll just play the energy of that day away. And
Mm.
once we got it out of our system in support of the other one, then it's like, okay,
Mhm.
cool, let's move on now, because we were able to release that. And that's the beauty of music, especially as a performer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to handle your, bad day or your good day through music and get your emotions out is incredible. And then the other thing that you mentioned that I find myself thinking about often is the connection of music to an event in life or a feeling in life. And then when you hear that song, that comes right back to you, and it's almost like the scent of crayons makes you think of being a kid in school, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
and it's the same thing with music. Like you hear a piece of music that was significant to you at one time, and it brings you right back to that. And even the mundane moments, like I remember painting a room in my house a few months back and listening to music. And every time I go into that room, it's kind of the opposite effect where I think about the music when I'm in there, and that's the particular color. And I even think about like, oh, when I was painting that corner, I was listening to this part of that song. And it's just, I don't know, it kind of contributes to music kind of being that fabric of life from, a young age, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. We could talk all day about like the connections with music and the, and the emotional and, the mental aspect of it. But that's fantastic though, that you and your brother were able to support each other in that way too. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. And even as you mentioned, I think it might have even been on this podcast, this show that you were talking to Kaz about his connection with music and visuals and sounds and colors. And I think, I believe the term is being a synesthete.
Yeah. So he has synesthesia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I don't believe I have synesthesia, but I do, again, like you're mentioning, resonating with, music attached to moments, moments attached to music, and just the two just crossing and being something that you experience in life, just adding so much color, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. Yes. And in researching synesthesia, I found out there are different kinds of synesthesia so that you can have that aspect of you. So what Kaz has is he hears sound and it visually shows him a color. And there are people who visualize in different ways, different things that are like cross the senses. Um, and I think that's really incredible. And like you mentioned, there are different kind of levels of that where I just mentioned, smelling crayons and thinking of school, but it is that connection. There is scent synesthesia. Um, but I think we all have a little bit of that in us that kind of like connects those senses together. That's not, that it doesn't just have one of the senses by itself, but it makes your brain think of something when you're experiencing something else, which is a gift. I think it's pretty amazing. Um, but so you have this music coming out. What else is on the horizon for you? You have a recording in October, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
What else is happening with you?
Wow. What else is happening with me? So, um, I got great news that I'll be getting some more support from the Canadian government, which is amazing. We have a lot of granting programs here. The news will
Great.
begin this morning, so it is hot off the presses.
Yay.
Um, yeah, and so to be able to pitch ideas to these granting agencies at the different level, whether it's city, provincial, federal, um, and then to be able to get financial support for it is for what you would like to do, absolutely amazing. And so um I have dreams of doing solo performances, partially like I mentioned before, like that whole like looping and electronic stuff. It's
Mhm.
gonna be fun. I head back into school again, starting the school year this September, and so getting connected with all the students again and faculty, it's gonna be a beautiful thing. But the main thing right now, I think, is just finding ways to be creative. And so, right, like more songwriting is where it's at, and pushing towards a new album is where I'm going. So yeah,
I
we'll see what
love
happens.
that. And congratulations on the grant. That's just fantastic.
Thank you.
And I know you have, there's so much good that you're doing with what is coming to you. And it's so great. And I'm excited for more songwriting because that's so great. And I feel like you have a lot of things happening in your life that will provide inspiration for new songs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Drumeo Coaches, right? So
Yes, every week.
people should check out Drumeo for that. And do you have any plans to do some more first listen songs like you've done with them?
Yeah, I mean, people keep sending the requests. I feel like I've heard from a ton of different groups saying, check out my songs, learn my song. But yeah, I'm down, like it's I think the fun thing about that is pushing the limits and seeing, like how like where will it stop? Like I don't know. I don't know. Like, somebody mentioned like, you need to do a song from Tool. You need to check out Danny, you gotta do
Yes.
this, you gotta do that. And so it's like, you know what? Let me get my double kick chops
Yeah.
up and and then we'll talk about a bunch of songs. But it's fun. It's fun. And I love again heading down to Drumeo headquarters and doing that kind of material. And they're great with production and inspiring. That space is so inspiring. Uh,
Mhm.
I think not enough what's the word? I think just not enough appreciation is shown for the effort they put into their space and the
Mhm.
kind of time that they take with all the artists that are there. And they have a system that works. They got people who are inspiring, and they also know how to pull the most and pull the best out of you. And so I love being there. As if I could be there more often, be amazing. Thankfully for me, they are on the west coast of Canada. So um, it isn't a major thing for me to get over there. It's like 5.5 hour flight or something like that. But
That's
hopefully,
great.
yeah, I would love to do more. I'll do more.
Yeah, and I'll put my vote in for Tool as well. I think that would be amazing,
Amazing.
and you could totally pull it off, and it would be a really cool take on Danny's style of playing, I think.
Mhm.
I'll send you my song suggestions too. Like you need
Please,
more. But,
please do. And
but
I'll look at it and I won't listen to it right away. I'll just kind of say, okay, Sarah's top
yes.
three.
Yes. I'll send you some good ones. I'm a big Tool fan, so um drumming wise, I'll send you my favorite ones that feature. I mean, they all feature Danny, but some are my favorites. So
Mhm.
that would be so great. And I will see you in November this year, which I am so excited about. Can we talk about this? I don't know.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So you will be at PASIC this year in Indianapolis. So exciting. I can't wait to see. I actually don't know what you are planning for PASIC. So it'll be
Yeah,
so I know it'll be great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Did you want me to talk a little bit about that for a
Yeah,
second?
if you
Yeah.
want to, I think well, we're a few months out, so people can still register if they can get to Indianapolis. And also, I think there will be a virtual aspect to it too. So if you're somewhere in the world and you can't get to Indianapolis in November, I know that last year the virtual PASIC reached 32 different countries. So it was great. But this year will be in person. So yeah, as much as you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. From a lot of the master classes and clinics, and as I like to call them, hangs
Mhm.
that I've done over the years, the main thing for me was taking the information that I was hearing as far as questions and realizing, man, I think the root to a lot of the challenges that people are having so far is getting organized behind the drums.
Mhm.
They're not sure how to like where to start with practicing, where to start with setting up your drums, where to start with learning a song, where to start, with even just soloing. And I really believe that to build that confidence in any of those areas, it starts
Mhm.
with organizing yourself. It starts with knowing what you have, all the components that you have available to you, all the resources you have available to you, and just step by step deciding that, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And it may not work out that way, but at least you know you have a plan. and you can get started.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to be talking about the way that I organize my thoughts when it comes to soloing, the way I organize my thoughts when it comes to sounds, organizing myself in terms of how I categorize parts of songs, and then just encouraging everyone basically just to look at their lives and figure out how they can organize themselves, not only behind their kit, but also away from their kit to reduce the stress, to bring more comfort to who they are, and to just push them forward into confidence.
That is such an important message. I cannot wait for that clinic. That's so great. And I think I agree with you 100% that organization is the key to a lot of things. I
Mm,
think, when things are organized for me, whether it's home wise or work wise or anything, there's peace to that. And I think it like allows you to be more creative even because if you have that baseline together, then you can be a little bit more relaxed about things and let your creativity take over. So I
yeah.
can't wait for that. That sounds really interesting.
And it's going to be my first in-person clinic.
Yay!
Oh my gosh, since I cannot even remember. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. So it's going to be good. It'll be good to have in-person conversations in real time just about drums, music, and life.
Absolutely. And that's a really great thing about PASIC too, because there's a lot of opportunity to spend time and meet people and chat with people. And, there's a lot of drum companies and cymbals and accessory companies that have booths there that you can check out their product. Um, make, a lot of companies have deals where you can find great products. But I'll put a link in the description too to register for PASIC in case anyone wants to see your clinic in person and can make it to Indianapolis in
Yeah.
November. It's going to
And
be
I'll
great.
say, I have to say, like, I've only been to PASIC once, but if you've never been before, it is the most amazing experience to be in a space with other people who are into what you're into. And
Yes.
it's not just like, oh, we all want to shop at this store, so we're in the store. No.
Mhm.
Like, we're talking about expressing, high level thought. We're talking about seeing shows. We're talking about a just a flamethrower of inspiration, just like
Yeah.
hitting you just from the second you step on site to the moment you leave. And it's amazing because the conversations you get to geek out on all this stuff that you've been checking out online, and talk to other people and hear what they're into. And oh man, I met so many people, and all the names are kind of coming back to me now. And even being able to sit with amazing artists like Indugu, and rest in peace, of course, Indugu, and also
Mhm.
Kira Jimbo, hanging
Yes,
out with Daru Jones, like, oh, just yeah, it's an amazing, amazing time.
it is. It's such an immersive experience, I think, for anyone who's into drums and percussion, whether it's drum set, percussion, marching. It's like, just a 3-day experience, well, 4 days actually with the Wednesday being a, performance day, but it's such an experience to spend days in a convention center, being immersed in the product and the talent and the education, and I love it too, and it's for me, it's I always say it's like a big family reunion because it's all these companies, all these people, all the drummers, the performers, and everyone's just there together, literally to push forward the industry, the drum industry,
Mhm.
just to do the best thing for the industry and to grow it and to have more kids. There's tons of kids who come from schools all around, and
Yeah.
so it's one of my favorite things. And I last year was just so sad that we weren't in person, but
Mhm.
really excited that we're going to be back this year.
Yeah.
So I will see you there in just a few months.
I know.
It'll be great. But thank you, Larnell, so much. I'm going to put links to your music and the apparel, that wonderful t-shirt, and all the other things we talked about in the description. So if anyone wants to check them out, please do. And I really thank you so much for coming on today and cannot wait to see you in person.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And the episodes have been amazing to see all these amazing drummers and the conversations, and the way that you are able to dig into the minds of all the artists and just how allow them to feel comfortable enough to just share stories that you wouldn't normally hear is awesome. So thank you for having me on the program. I made absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much for those kind words. I so
Yeah.
appreciate it. This has been so much fun for me, and I just love being able to share you all with everyone else. So thank you, Larnell, for being so open and for the time. And I will see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in today. Join us each Tuesday for new episodes of Sarah Hagan Backstage.